And we are live. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Mojo Show, your real estate podcast where we talk about everything real estate. I'm your host, Joe Mortgage.
And I'm Cup of Joe Mortgage.
And today, if you are a first-time home buyer, we've got a great show for you today because we are talking about everything for first-time home buyers, do's, don'ts, tips, tricks, everything in between. But before we get to that, wow, what a week we got this week, Joe, with the Fed meeting later on today.
Yes, it's going to be an exciting one, to tell you the truth. Hoping that they come out and say the right things. That's gotten us before.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. I think it's later today. What, around 2:30 or something like that? They're making the announcement.
I think that's what time it comes out. The announcement today is just with the inflation reports, coming out yesterday. The talk needs to be something where, they're not raising rates, or they're thinking about, next year they'll be lowering rates. I think that'll help all of us, and especially, we've seen some good things over the past, month and a half with the market anyway. So it's been real nice kind of talking to buyers, talking to people that have been on the fence about the rates where they're at right now. The nice thing about it is you can always refinance down the road and lower those payments.
Absolutely. As we always talk about, you can always change your interest rate, but you can't change the purchase price of your home. So buy it now because you're getting it at a lower purchase price, because once interest rates do go down, the price of those homes, and that you're going to be competing against everybody, and the prices are just going to go up.
And that's the truth about it is, these first-time home buyers and even just, people trying to upgrade their homes, once you see those rates going down and we're in a purchase market, there's going to be a lot more people bidding on that same house, and now you're going to have to take it up even higher. And that's the nice thing about it, but also the scary thing when you're buying a house.
Well, and as you and I were talking a little bit before the show, I think, and maybe this is something we can discuss in a future episode, as far as like differences between different types of mortgages, but that's also going to be a difference in the interest rate that you have. I know you and I were talking before the show that, whether conventional FHA, right now there's some great FHA pricing out there on loans.
Yeah, I actually just got a client that we're trying to close by the end of the year. They gave me a contract yesterday. Still doable, guys, just so you know. And with that client, they have good credit score and mid to low 700s, and I was able to get them at a 6.25 with just a point discount, and that's an awesome interest rate compared to what we've been seeing, and they really appreciated me going through all options and looking at the FHA loan. The MI, the way that they've redone the MI, dropping it down last year, it makes them more competitive with those conventional 720, 740 FICO score clients.
Yep, absolutely. I did the same thing yesterday with a realtor. We were looking at how we were going to position things, and I told him, man, if we could just do an FHA on this home, then their interest rate is going to be like 1% lower than a conventional loan. And believe it or not, it was the difference, it was going to save them $200 a month. And they're first-time home buyers.
And that's amazing, because that helps any young family, any first-time home buyer be able to budget a little bit better. And,
Absolutely.
And the nice thing today is, I know you're going to introduce him, but getting a perspective from a realtor today too on that, because there's those misconceptions on what an FHA does versus a conventional. And I'm really excited about today's show, kind of talking through it. And I think we just got to be there for anybody that's buying a house and just go through all options available.
Absolutely. Yep. To help put them in the best financial position possible. Agree. Yeah. So we'll definitely look at later today what Jerome Powell does with the rates, if he's going to be leaning towards cutting any of it next year for 2024, and what the volume of that is going to be. I think is going to play a lot into what the market's going to do here the rest of the day and into the next, the rest of the week for that matter. But I am super excited about who we have on for a guest today for our show. He is a former city councilman, the city of Algonac up in Michigan, where I'm from. Right? He's also was a candidate for state representative for District 63 in Michigan. He's also the president of local nonprofit Youth for the Future. Oh, and by the way, he's also a realtor. He's actually with um, the Remax's largest southeastern brokerage there in Michigan. Please welcome to our show, Jake Skarbek. Let's see if we can get you up here, big guy.
How's it going, guys?
There he is.
Good, Jake. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
That was new, Joe. I like that. I like the audience clapping.
Thank you. Thank you. A little delayed on that. I apologize. Technical issues. I'll get that worked out. Welcome to the show, Jake.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, you probably heard as you were kind of sitting off screen there, heard us talk a little bit about interest rates and stuff. I think I don't know. Have you seen it affect much of your market there yet, as far as people starting to come out, of sitting on the sidelines and starting to get into purchasing?
So I'm seeing like the people that are coming out of the sidelines are the ones that are having like a child, or they have to move. Certain situations that are making them or forcing them to move right now. So that's kind of been our biggest first-time home buyer situations.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the market really hasn't slowed down here. It's actually picking up from what I'm seeing.
Nice.
That's great. So, Jake, with you on here, can you kind of tell us what are some of the mistakes that you're seeing that first-time home buyers are making?
Definitely with first-time home buyers, they're looking before they're getting that pre-approval letter. So they're looking at the house, their dream house, something that's not affordable for them, or it's a little outside of their comfort zone. So once they get that pre-approval, they have this feeling and this expectation that exactly what they want. And then when we go looking, it's kind of a reality check for a minute, and it kind of discourages them. But then they finally find what exactly they're looking for, and then they're happy at the end.
Okay. So when somebody's looking, because we all window shop, we all get on realtor.com, Zillow.com, all those things, and kind of window shop. When somebody's doing that, what are some of the recommendations that you make before they start looking at shopping, just so that way they can understand their budget?
Oh, definitely talk to a lender. Make sure you're not looking at houses that are over, because no one wants to be house poor at the end of the day. You want to make sure you can still go on those vacations, make sure you can still take care of the kids and do the extra things. So I always tell people, talk to your lender, see what's comfortable for you. You might be able to get approved for an extra 50 or 100,000 more than you actually feel comfortable for. So I believe that's the biggest portion, is getting with your lender, making sure you know exactly where you feel comfortable.
Yeah, and a lot of time, first-time home buyers think like, "Oh, I'm going to get my credit pulled. It's going to hurt my credit." That's the great thing about what we do, Joe and I do. We use soft pulls to get a couple of their credit scores. We can base their information off of that, and it doesn't hurt your credit. It doesn't cost you anything from a first-time home buyer. Just understanding that, building out that budget is smarter, in my opinion. Before they start getting onto realtor.com, or they start getting on the websites. Like Remax has their own website that has listings that you guys have in your area. But it's a great way for them to get a budget without costing anything.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
So what are some of the other things that you're dealing with your clients that are first-time home buyers that, kind of get them stressed out that we need to talk about today? Because I think everybody's got those perceptions out there that loans are hard to get done. Buying a house for the first time is very hard. So what are some of those stress points that we need to kind of chat about?
So the biggest stress point is finding a lender that works for you. Getting the right lender and the right realtor team helps out so much, because that communication between the lender and the realtor saves so much time, hassle for the first-time buyer. They're already scared. They don't know what half the papers mean. They're trying to battle through it. They're getting the calls from the lender. Hey, I need this. I need this. They're getting the calls from us. We need this and this. So they're just getting stressed out the whole time. So picking the right team, I say, is very important to make a smooth transaction. And it just helps them. It lowers the stress level, and it makes the deal just go a lot better.
Good. I mean, that's a lot of information for first time home buyers to you can't get too attached, before you get under contract. My wife did that a couple of times, and we had to have those conversations of, hey, we're looking right now, instead of, hey, this is our home. So that stress point of knowing what we can get really helped out when we bought our first house.
Absolutely. If they get attached to a house, it just sucks once they lose it, right? Because we're having a big problem right now where, like, the first-time home buyers, they're losing that first or second deal or third deal, and then they get discouraged. But at the end of the day, there's no reason to get discouraged because the right one's going to come there for them. They're going to find it, and they're going to eventually be happy, and it's going to be their future home. So I always tell them, if you don't get the first one or the second one, it wasn't meant to be. And so when you finally find that one that's meant to be, it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. And knowing that you got that one that fits in that budget just lowers your stress financially too. So that's one of the things that you talked about, is making sure you're in that budget. And so I like that.
For sure. I always stress, no one wants to be house poor at the end of the day. It's not worth it.
Well, Jake, I know I think all three of us here have been hearing this for the past, say, 6, 8, 10 months, especially from first-time home buyers, that they want to wait. They want to wait until home values come down. I've heard that several times. I hear, they want to wait till interest rates come down. I mean, how are you able to help these people see, the real numbers in this, the value of buying now?
Absolutely. So the first-time home buyers I have that are renting, I always say you're paying either your mortgage at the end of the day, or you're going to pay your landlord's mortgage at the end of the day. So by buying now, even if the price is where you want it, but the interest is a little higher, you're getting in at a good deal, because once those interest rates come down, the floodgates open, right?
Oh.
So you have all these people that are sitting on the sidelines waiting to get in. And once that interest rate goes down, they're all going to be running towards that house. And once that house, right, we're going to go back to last year and the year before, where we're getting in a multiple offer situation, and it's just not helping them, right? So then the price is going to go up. They're going to get pushed down into a lower housing area, and it doesn't make sense. They're not going to get what they want. So buying right now, you can always refi down the road and get the house you actually want today.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because in Joe, I think you can confirm this as well with some of the clients that we're working with today. I mean, they're going in, making an offer, and they're the only one that's making an offer, right? They're not competing with 10, 12, 15 other people. They're coming in with offers, 30, 40, 50,000 above what the list price is. If anything, they're coming in with offers that are maybe a little bit lower, or maybe it's the list price, but they're asking for seller concessions as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the big one we're seeing right now, is a lot of seller concessions going on. And before, if you had seller concessions, you were not getting that offer. But today we're seeing the houses that are on the market 30, 40, 50 days. Now these people want to sell that property. So they're finally looking at those offers that have the seller concessions. And it's definitely helping our buyers get to the closing table a lot faster and a lot more affordably at the end of the day.
Agree. Absolutely. And I like your take on that, they're going to pay a mortgage somewhere. It's either the landlord's mortgage or their own mortgage.
Absolutely.
Love that. Good stuff.
One thing that I was seeing too, though, is even when they're in multiple bid offers, they're not the ones that are these cash offers that are way high, because these investors are still borrowing money, and so they're slowing down on buying with cash only. So this does open up, especially for first-time homebuyers, to get in there and make an offer on a house that's not being eaten up, because in that price range, if you're in that $300,000 to $350,000 price range here in the DFW area, that's a starter home now. And unless you're on the outskirts, and so that is a competitive market, because that fits most people's budgets. But those $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 homes, those are, you're still getting competitive bids on them. But when the market changes and the rates are lower, we're going to get a lot more after those first-time home buyer price ranges, and that's why buying today makes so much sense.
Oh, absolutely, I totally agree.
So when it comes to, the myth out there, we were talking about this a little bit before the show, right? FHA, conventional type loans and things like that. They all have different down payments. You know, on a conventional, we can get them in at a 3% down, where FHA we're at 3.5%. From a realtor's perspective, and I'm kind of throwing a curveball here. Tell me about, you know, the difference in your mindset when you see an offer that's conventional 3% down first time, or an FHA 3.5%. Tell us kind of your opinion about it and what goes through the mind of a realtor.
So realistically, if we're on the sell side and we get two offers, one's FHA and one's conventional, most times, right, we're going to take conventional to the top. But that's not always the case anymore, because the FHA, depending on the situation, they might have more cash down, or it might be better for them to get in that house. And we may see in like the last couple of deals, people are looking at all offers differently because they all have certain things in that offer, right? Just because you have a conventional doesn't mean you're still not asking for the concessions. And so there's multiple situations that we have to take into account today that makes a decision. But if you can do an FHA, I totally agree. Use that FHA the first time.
Yeah. So one thing that I do, and you know, I've done this for a while now, is I call those listing agents, and when I talk to them, it's about the house, right? If you're selling a house that was built in the last 10 years, that's not having any foundation issues and things like that, it's easier to say FHA is not a problem.
Yeah.
You know, so I think having conversations with realtors about the homes and about what that property looks like, you know, sways some of those offers to be looked at differently.
For sure. And I believe like we were talking about having that team, right? The team between the lender and the realtor. If you get a realtor that has good connections in that community, you're probably more likely to get that house, depending on the situation, FHA or conventional. It comes back down to creating a good team at the end of the day. You might have a solid offer, but if another agent is very strong with another agent, you might get the offer too, you know? So I believe creating a good team, creating a good community team, creating a good mindset for your clients, your lenders, and your community also helps with those offers as well.
And I apologize to everybody if I'm blurry all of a sudden. I don't know what has happened there, but my camera looks blurry on my end. If it's blurry on yours, I apologize. So,
I thought you always look that way, Joe.
thanks, Joe. I appreciate you so much. There it is. I'm back.
There you go. Okay. Well, and that's a great thing about working with Jake. I mean, you know, being the city council out there in Algonac, candidate for the state representative, you know, doing the nonprofits that he has. I mean, you can tell he's very into the community, you know, and has his thumb on the pulse, if you will. So he's great to work with, truly. And if anybody, by the way, I should have mentioned earlier, if anybody has questions or anything, please go ahead and put them in the comment section down below, and we can definitely take some of those questions live on air here. But I also want to mention, I know we were talking about FHA and conventional and that. Let's not forget VA though, right? VA loans. I think there's a lot of myths about them out there. When people are listing their homes, they don't want it. You know, sometimes I actually see it that they don't want a VA loan, which I think is the ridiculous thing. You know, our veterans and that that have put their skin on the line for us, so to speak, they deserve to, if anything, be top of the list when it comes to looking at home and use. VA loans are some of the easiest loans too.
Yes, I see VA loans all the time. And honestly, if you can do it, right? I always tell all our sellers, take every loan possible. If it's available, take it, right? If you have all the right criteria, why not? You're still opening it up. Even if you have to do one little repair to get that deal done, first off, you're helping a vet. Secondly, you're opening it more to more people. So it's crazy that some agents refuse to take a VA or an FHA and they just want conventional because they're losing so many more people. And it could help a bidding war, or it could help their clients at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are other things that can also help them out there. Those of you that are first-time home buyers probably been having a hard time this year with the way the economy is in saving for that down payment, closing costs and everything. But there is help out there, right? There's a lot of different avenues to be able to get some help in regards to what we call down payment assistance programs, right? I know there in Michigan, Jake, you guys have one there in the state of Michigan, right?
Yeah, we have one called the MISHA program, and the MISHA is that it's a $10,000 assistance towards your down payment. The only thing with it is once you actually sell that property, it's kind of like a second mortgage. It goes on the top, and that gets paid off as well. So it will go back to the state of Michigan. at the end of the day, but it helps so many more people. I will say it takes about another 2 weeks on top of the deal. We're doing one right now and they're running a little behind on it, but they're phenomenal, you know, and a lot of agents are looking at them because they know they're going to close. It might take a little bit longer, but it's a great option.
We've got that here in Texas as well, right? Right, Joe?
We do. We have a couple of different programs for down payment assistance that are great. But even on top of that, you know, us with the way that our setup is, we get access to, you know, some really nice, you know, grants and things like that some of our investors do also. That, you know, to pair it together with a first-time home buyer and asking for seller concessions at the same time. And, you know, I don't know if everybody understands what seller concessions are as we're talking about them. It's natural for the three of us. But Jake, can you explain kind of what seller concessions are just to our first-time home buyer audience so that that way they know what they are?
Absolutely. So when we say seller concessions, you're pretty much how I explain to everybody is you're asking the seller to give you money off that deal to help you with your closing costs, right? So say simple numbers, the house is $150,000 and you need 3% towards your closing costs. You don't have it or you need some help with it. You're asking now the seller to give you $4,500, right? So you're putting it into your mortgage. So you're offering them $150,000, but they're going to give you $4,500 towards your closing. So it's helping you and it's going to help them get the deal done. But sometimes the seller concessions, you can always ask on top of it. Say the house is 150, you know that it's going to comp out for 155. You can ask for 5,000 in seller concessions. The seller's walking away with what they wanted originally, and you're still getting the extra $5,000 towards your closing costs or whatever you need for it.
You know, you bring up a great thing there is, you know, everybody wants to try to offer less than what the list price is. Well, when you're trying to get some of these things in certain locations, doing those seller concessions, you know, good realtors like yourself, you know, you find out, hey, this house is actually worth $5,000, $6,000 more. You know, they're not going to take at list price and give away. So you got to kind of do that negotiating, and you know, we need that so much. So, you know, especially for first time home buyers, like Joe said, saving in the world today sometimes is harder, but still buying a house, there are ways for us to figure out how to do it with the right relationship, you know, with your realtor.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
And I like the idea you have, Jake, as far as whatever the list price is, right, for the home. If in negotiations that I know you're great at, but in those negotiations to be able to, if the seller doesn't want to drop the price, well, okay, let's add the concessions on top of the list price so that everybody wins in this. The seller gets, you know, the amount that they're listing the home for. The buyer gets the seller concessions. I mean, everybody wins in the situation. I love that.
Yeah, they're getting what they want, and so is the buyers. So it's awesome. And I also believe that you have to go to all your appraisals, right? Especially if you're doing seller concessions as an agent, you need to be going to every single appraisal. You need to have those comps where you're coming from, because I believe that appraiser, they're going to take that into account. Most times, maybe not, but at the end of the day, you might get a little lucky and say, okay, here's A, B, and C. This is where I got my comps from. This is where we're asking for them concessions, and this is why.
Right.
And they might take that into account.
Right. Absolutely. Are you now? I'm curious. Up there in Michigan, are you seeing any appraisals that are coming in? Are they coming in at list price or perhaps higher? I mean, I've been seeing some come in even higher than the list price.
My last three have came in $20 to $100 more. They have been like right in that price range, depending on it. But I haven't had any that has been over.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think with that is they get the purchase contract and they see the price and they're like, oh, as long as we can hit that. But I do see some appraisers doing the right thing and giving the true full value. You know, and looking at the adjustments is always fun for me. I love looking at what appraisers are doing. But you brought up a great point of, you know, working with agents, having a good agent, you know, does so much more for you. And it also gets you more buying power, in my opinion, because like you said, you're meeting that appraiser, you're giving comps that you came up with to show your buyer what the house is worth. That's a +1 right there. That's an awesome job that you brought that up. doing one more thing for your clients. So anything that you want to say, promote yourself a little bit on here, because we're going to put this out there. I know Joe has a lot of following up in Michigan, but promote yourself for a second. Anything you want to say, what you do for your clients, and how they can get in contact with you.
I just believe in being the best agent possible, right? From the beginning to the end. Sometimes we might not be the best fit, and we weigh each other out. And if we're going to be a good fit for each other, I would love to work with you. I would love to build a connection and get you into your next home. You can reach me on Facebook at Jacob Skarbek Realtor. You can email me at jacobskarbek@icloud.com. And if we're a right fit, I would love to take you on as a client, and let's see where we can take this.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Well, Jake, we really appreciate you coming on the show today. You gave a lot of great insight and valuable information for first-time home buyers. And if you are a first-time home buyer watching, listening in, I definitely, and you're in the Michigan area, especially east part of Michigan there, towards the lake, if you will, I highly encourage you to reach out to Jake. He is a top-tier realtor in that area and will take great care of you. Reach out to him with his email, Facebook, connect up with him. I appreciate everything, all the insight, Jake, truly. Next week, folks, we are going to have a special guest on, but I am going to leave this as a mystery as to who this is. You're just going to have to tune in, because it's going to be a great one, another great show. You'll just have to kind of tune in and see who this is and the info that we're going to have for you. I do want to thank everyone for listening in, and I
think we're finishing up a little early for some reason, Joe. I think I mistimed some things. So
did you?
One thing that we can share, because you're not giving us anything for the next week's show. You're actually making, I don't even know what Joe's got planned for us next week. So I'm excited.
Yes.
But back to first-time home buyers real quick. One of the things that I guess we didn't talk about, and we just need to share, and then Joe, you can wrap it up, is things not to do, right? We always, from a lending perspective and from a realtor's perspective, it should be the same. Don't go out and buy new things. Wait until you close on the house. You don't need those new appliances yet. Tell your spouse, we can wait on that. But before you make any purchases, talk to your real estate agent and talk to your lender for sure. I think that's one of the misses that we don't talk about enough, is those don'ts. Jake, anything else that you can put in there too?
Absolutely. I say do not swipe that credit card one time until we have a closing. Once that closing's done, you have a sign. You wait 2 days, go buy the furniture you want. But until then, you wait until you have the keys in hand before you're swiping that credit card again. It is so drastic.
We do not want to see you show up at the closing in a new BMW.
No, because we're not closing.
No.
And that is true.
All right. Well, we are reaching our time point here, folks. I want to try to keep us at the half hour as usual. So I really appreciate everyone that has tuned in today. Thank you so much. Please like, follow, share, subscribe. And if you have any questions for us in particular, feel free to email us, the Mojo Show podcast @gmail.com. I am Joe Mortgage, your host, and that handsome fella down there is my co-host, Joe, Cup of Joe Mortgage, and we will see you all next week.